This is an intro. Who needs an intro? I don't need an intro. This is just a vape show. It's just a vape show. Vape show. This is an intro. Who needs an intro? I don't need an intro. This is just a vape show. It's just a vape show. Vape show.
YouTube, what is up? I'm your homeboy Josh, back at you to give you a full review and comparison of the Aeronaut. No, not the authentic Aeronaut. This is the Aeronaut clone. You can pick this up at either 3F Vape or at Fast Tech, but let me preface this by saying I'm a self-proclaimed Aeronaut fanboy. I love the Aeronaut. I love it. It's my favorite RDA ever. It's the best RDA I've ever used. I use it every single day, okay? Every single day. Since I've gotten the Aeronaut, I've had a hard time picking up pretty much anything else. Everything that I get, everything that I try, just kind of falls by the wayside. I have a hard time using anything but my Aeronaut these days. A very hard time. You know, I mean, not just that, I mean, the guy himself, Daniel Song, the guy that developed the Aeronaut, I mean, he's also just a really cool friggin' dude, okay? If you look through the previous Aeronaut videos that I've done in the past, you'll see him in there in the comments, not just dialoguing with me, saying, hey, good job, good video, but he's in there helping other people out who have this RDA and have questions about it. So he's a cool friggin' dude. He's an independent RDA maker from the UK. If there's anyone worth supporting, it's the independent RDA makers. And it's also someone that really cares enough about the product that they're in there in the comments and other people's YouTube videos, not just my YouTube videos, but other people's YouTube videos on the Aeronaut, giving people tips on how to use it and how to get the most out of it. He's an awesome dude. What's interesting about this clone is that it's not the final version of the Aeronaut, but it is in fact designed by him. Aeronaut Vapes actually developed this original RDA and then revised it to this. So this is an earlier iteration of his work. And that's the only reason I bought it. Academic purposes. I wanted to see what this was like. In no way am I advocating buying the clone. In no way, okay? I just wanted to know what it was like originally. And you might question, why is the clone version so different from the final version? Why if someone's going to release a clone, why not do, you know, a one-to-one clone of his final version? Speaking with Daniel, there was another company that he was working with originally in China to develop his RDA. They kind of dragged their feet a little bit, and then he ultimately went with a different company. So do with that what you will. He doesn't know with certainty that, you know, the original company pushed this out or anything like that, but my money's on the original company he was working with putting this out. That's what this is what I think. So do with that what you will. I personally would not want to buy the clone based upon that, knowing that it was probably stolen from him. I mean, this is his design. It's most likely coming from a company that, you know, he decided not to do business with, and they went around and they pushed out a clone version and are charging like $15 for it. I personally wouldn't want to go buy that, knowing its history. I bought it strictly for academic reasons. I wanted to see what his original version was like, and that's what we're going to talk about today. What it was like, what the Aeronaut was like before it got to this. That's what intrigued me about this RDA. That's why I had to pick one up. There are definitely some interesting features about the clone. Things that I wonder if they were incorporated into the final version, they would have made it, you know, even better. But there are also a number of things that have been left out of the clone completely. Some features that make the Aeronaut what it is, more or less. And, you know, ultimately, I'm sure you'll find that the authentic version, the final iteration, is a superior product. So without further ado, come on in here. Let's take a look at this clone version and let's compare it to the authentic. Come on in. So here it is, guys, the Aeronaut. Not this Aeronaut, this Aeronaut. So here's the clone, here's the authentic. There we got the top-down airflow design we know and love so well. Yeah, it's definitely a clone. It's not an earlier version or anything like that. This is, hands down, a clone. They completely left out the ability for you to change out the tubes. These tubes, as you know, if you've seen my video or anyone else's video on the Aeronaut, you know that these tubes are interchangeable. The clone does not have interchangeable tubes. You've got the one with the top-down airflow, and you've got the one with the bottom airflow, and that's it. There's no way to change them. That's just how they are all the time, okay? So you can't close off the top or close off the bottom completely with the interchangeable tubes. So keep that in mind when you're considering clone versus authentic in this case. They are slightly different sizes too. The authentic version, the final authentic version, is just a bit taller than the clone version or the earlier iteration, whatever we want to call it. Just a little bit taller. Airflow holes are smaller by comparison. Definitely a higher quality metal on this. This is just sort of a brushed finish. This has a little bit of a mirrored look to it. And then here we have the Lucid Cap version. This is the higher quality metal that he puts out in his special edition. Look at the mirror style finish to it. I mean, it's crazy, the difference. I don't know how well that comes across on camera, but the mirror finish is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. I haven't thrown a build in this version yet. I'm saving it for something. So I'm excited to throw our first build in there. We'll probably do that together in a couple of days. In terms of extras, with the authentic, you get the extra airflow tubes, you get the extra clamps, you get the extra screws, the extra O-rings. No odd-shaped O-ring in this package. Looks like whatever misplaced O-ring they had before found its proper home. So no misplaced O-ring here on this one. So with the clone, there are no clamps. So you don't get any clamps here. What you do get are some extra screws, some extra O-rings, a little blue screwdriver, Phillips head, because these use Phillips head screws, and you get some pre-made China coils. You also get a nice fat Delrin tip, chuff cap, pops in just like that, and you get the adapter for your own drip tips. Now, it works okay. You can fit, your standard drip tips in here. These press fit drip tips from Just the Tip, they are loose. They work, but they're loose. Third Eye drip tips, they're press fit. It does press fit very well, that works, but the third eyes don't really sit right. You've got like this overhang on the third eyes. And that's because the drip tip adapter comes up a bit. So you can use your own drip tips. We dig that. I like the option. But had to do over what I would say is make this flush. I wish that was flush. Because if there's one thing that I think the Aeronaut could benefit from is the ability to use its own drip tips. And this with the third eye on top, sitting just like that, that would look pretty dope, I think. That would look awesome. Yeah. So I'd like to see the ability to use my own drip tips, but I'd want it flush to this. The chuff is not bad. It's not super thin. Sometimes these chuffs that come from out of China, they're just super thin and they're almost sharp at the top. This is pretty rounded, it's pretty soft at the top, curved, so it's pretty comfortable. Quite a bit smaller, in fact, quite a bit smaller. Here's where things start to get very, very different. The deck. Okay, this is the authentic final version deck. This is the earlier iteration clone deck. We've already gone over the authentic deck, the way it works with the clamps, the amount of build space you get with it, and it's really, really great for single coil builds. I like them with, alien coils and staple coils. I like them with fused Clapton coils and a single coil configuration. That's the way I like to build this. It can be done with a dual coil. It is more difficult, but it is possible. We've already discussed that. I'm not going to bore you. You can see, looking at them side by side, the authentic over here has a much deeper juice well than the clone by about 2 millimeters. There's about 2 millimeters of extra juice well on the authentic version. Here's the earlier iteration. A little bit different here. This is really well suited to dual coils. Really well suited to dual coils, but not as well suited to wider gauge wire, if you ask me. There's the build I have in there right now. It's really nothing special. It's just a basic build, 24 gauge dual coil, about 8 wraps each. Fires up nice and pretty, but really nothing special about it. Just a basic build. Instead of using an Allen key, it uses a Phillips head screws, which in some respects I kind of prefer. I do kind of prefer that. Instead of the clamping connection, what we have is a wire trap configuration. One lead goes underneath this screw, the other lead goes underneath this screw, for example. Just like the authentic final version, this is your negative post, this is your positive block. And as far as a wire trap goes, I gotta say it's one of the better designs that I've seen. Because with most wire traps, you have to clip one of your leads, pre-clip one of your leads to size in order for it to go in there properly. With this one, you really don't. It's actually really, really easy to build on with this sort of wire trap. It goes right on in there just like that. Tighten that down a little bit. And then I'll take this screw out quite a bit, push it on down just like this, hold it there, and screw that on down, just like that. And that wire's just trapped in there. It's not going anywhere. It's got this little sort of pathway where you can slip the wire in, and then the screw just traps the wire down. That's all there is to it with building this thing. And it's just a single coil, but it works the same way for dual coils. It's very, very easy to throw a dual coil in here. With the authentic design, it is a bit more difficult with those clamps. But it's not the way that I would want to build. The way I like building this is with, basically, they're generally triple coils in a single coil configuration. At least 3 strands of wire that are worked into, aliens or fused Claptons, or, fused Clapton is 2 strands, but, the most I could probably fit in that wire trap would be probably fused 26 is what I could maybe fit in there. Fused 26, I don't think I could do fused 24. I don't think I could do a 3-core alien in there, maybe if I was using 32 gauge for the cores of the alien, but no. It's just a lot to ask of that wire trap to, negotiate a lot of wire. It can't handle a whole lot. This is maybe 1-2 strands max. I don't think it could handle more than 22 gauge. Don't think it could do more than 1 strand of 22. So, basic wire builds, this is great, but, the kind of stuff that I want to build, it really wouldn't suit my needs at all. One nice thing about this clone is, clone, earlier iteration, whatever you want to call it. I'm having a hard time deciding what to call this thing. It's a clone, I know. It's not made by the original designer, but it's based on an earlier iteration of his design, which I just think is so cool that I can have this and I can look at what it was like where it was like this, and then, it got to that. That's just really, really cool that I have that opportunity. That's just so rare. And I'm tempted just to call it an earlier iteration of his work. It's still a clone. Anyway, it works in much the same way as his final version does, in that it does not leak. So there's no cotton in here right now, but I've gone and I've filled the well on up with juice. Okay, the well is completely full of juice. And I'm gonna pop that cap on. See that? No leaking. None. It's not even drooling out the sides. There's nothing. Nothing's leaking on here. It's just amazing. It's an amazing design. Amazing design. I thought we'd also take a look and see what this thing can actually fit in terms of builds. Because the builds I've put in my original Aeronaut, I use them over and over and over again. I dig them out my coil graveyard all the time, and I put them in my Aeronaut, and I just go to town again and again. Now, this is an alien coil. I'm going to straighten out the leads a little bit so that we can place this. So I'm just straightening out the leads a little bit. I'm seeing if they'll fit in this wire trap. And they don't. The alien coil will not fit in the wire trap. It's just too wide. It won't make it next to that screw. You can maybe build an alien coil with a smaller gauge and whatnot, but this one won't fit in here. So that's one of the limitations of the wire trap right there. It won't handle 3-core alien very well, not without using some very, very thin wire. This is a 2632. It's 26 gauge, 3 times 26, alien wrapped with 32. So it won't fit that. This is one of the favorite builds that I put in the Aeronaut. It is a twisted fuse Clapton. This is 2 times 28, Clapton and 36, and then twisted. Just barely. Not really. This takes a lot of finagling. I wouldn't recommend this. Let's see if we can tighten it down. Yeah, it'll fit. See if it'll fire. Yeah, it'll fire. It took a bit of finagling. You know, I couldn't just like slide it on in there. I had to like press it down into there for it to fit. But it'll fit. Getting it out, I don't know. Oh, please don't fuck up my coil. I like this coil. Okay, cool. Yeah, that was a bit of a challenge, but it worked. Yeah, that right there is an 8-ply staple coil. I'm certain that this is not going to fit. Let me get this out of the way. No way in hell would that fit. No way. See how I was just up against that screw like that? And it just doesn't want to get into the wire trap. There's no way that'll fit. No way. Here's another wire that will not fit. This is a strand of 28 Clapton with 36, and then that is twisted with 3 strands of that. So it's 3 Claptons twisted together, and then it's helixed with a strand of 32. It will sort of lock down like that, but I wouldn't trust it like that. If you look, you can see that it's really just locking on to like 1 or 2 of those wires. It's not really secure. I wouldn't vape that personally, no. And a lot of you cloud chasers really like working with this 18 gauge. So, will 18 gauge fit? No. No. 18 gauge will not fit. 22 gauge will fit. But you can't go more than a single strand of 22 gauge on a side of the wire trap. No more than a single strand. That's the max, I think. The max is a strand of 22 gauge. Let's try a dual fuse Clapton coil. Let's see how easily these place. So I've pulled out a link in each of these fuse Claptons, and now I'm just kind of re-anchoring them in here. This wire trap does make building dual coils in here much, much easier. I will say that. Will say that. There we go. Let's tighten everything down. Fold all the leads up. Clip them all off. All right, that's good enough, I say. Using some cotton bacon for this. I'm really digging this stuff, man. Really digging the cotton bacon. Really digging this stuff. Yeah, this is sweet. Yeah, I've never used it before, and I actually really like it. So it can't handle quite as much wick as the Authentic. You gotta cut this down a bit on the clone. With the Authentic, I can take a strip as long as that and just shove it all down to the well. Those extra couple millimeters really make a huge difference. All right. All wicked, ready to go. We're just gonna make it juicy. Nice. Vaping at about 60 watts. It's a 0.3 ohm build. Pop that cap on. I'll see you guys up there. So that's the Aeronauts. The Authentic Aeronaut, the clone Aeronaut. As you saw down below, there are definitely some limitations with the clone as opposed to the Authentic. With the clone, yeah, you gain the ability to use your own drip tips and you have like this Delrin chuff style drip tip, yeah. But you lose 2 millimeters in the juice well, and you lose the ability to use some really chunkier wire. I mean, it can handle certain things. It can handle certain gauges of fuse Claptons. It can handle certain twisted builds. It can handle. But when it comes to multi-core alien coils, when it comes to 3-4 cores of wire, that's where you really need the authentic. That's where you really need those clamp style connections. And this one uses that wire trap sort of technology. Now, the wire trap is cool, don't get me wrong. I think it's the best wire trap I've ever seen, personally. Personally seen, this is the best wire trap configuration I've ever seen on any RDA. And that's mainly because with other wire traps, you have to clip one side to size before you can place it in the deck. With this one, you don't. It's just an easy wire trap where you can place your coil and then clip off both sides. So, I mean, even in his early iteration of this product, Daniel, Aeronaut Vapes, was already innovating. I mean, that's an innovative deck in itself. I mean, it still has the same leak-proof technology, so neither one of these will leak when they're turned on their side like this. The only time these will leak is if you really overfill it. If you overfill it, it's going to pour out the sides. But, that's the only time it's going to leak. As long as you don't overfill it, you're good. I mean, for me personally, I will go with the authentic all the way. And that's because I love those clamps. I love those clamps. For me, that's what makes the Aeronaut, that and its airflow options. Okay, with this not being able to change out your airflow tubes, just having those static airflow tubes in place, that would be a deal breaker for me in itself. And also, I would be fine with the wire trap. But now that I've had the clamps on the authentic, I wouldn't want to go with the wire trap. I like the clamps better. But some people might disagree with me. Some people might like this wire trap configuration. It's a little bit easier for building your dual coils. It's a little bit easier to build on in some respects. But I don't like being limited by the size of the post of the wire trap. It doesn't suit my needs. And having a removable drip tip is nice, don't get me wrong. Being able to use your own drip tips is nice, but here's the thing. The way that it's designed, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of it because there are certain drip tips that will work. Regular standard drip tips, they seem to work fine. Now what I really want to use this thing with would be a third eye drip tip. That would be perfect. See that gap? It's a big old gap, bit of overhang with that third eye tip, and it just doesn't fit right. So if I was going to have a removable drip tip in here, I'd want it to be flush. I'd want that adapter to be flush with the top. So I'm not a fan of the way that is designed. And overall with the authentic, the metal tip never bothered me. I like the metal tip now. I wouldn't change it. I like the aesthetic of the metal tip. I like that the mouthfeel on it. I like it better than the removable tip that's on the clone, personally, now that I'm used to it. And it doesn't get hot. That's the thing. I've never had a problem with this RDA getting hot on me. It just works and dissipates the heat so well that it's never been an issue, ever. Well, not to mention the flavor. The flavor is honestly better on the authentic than the clone. I don't know why that is, because you'd think it would be just the opposite, because the air holes are actually smaller on the clone, quite a bit smaller. So you would think that having a more restrictive draw on the clone would make for better flavor, but it really doesn't. It doesn't improve it. It actually, I find the authentic has much better flavor. So I would 100% say that the authentic is a superior product to the clone in this case. 100%. I wouldn't even think of the clone coming. It doesn't come anywhere close to the authentic. Let me tell you, it doesn't. Not to mention, I'll just reiterate again, this is a $65 authentic from an independent RDA maker. This is an amazing RDA for the price. 65 bucks is incredible for an authentic RDA. A lot of times authentic RDAs, they're $100, $120. Some of them go for 150 bucks, okay? So a $65 authentic is awesome in my book. That's awesome, okay? Yeah, the clone is $15, but you're giving up a lot of the features, and you're supporting, most likely supporting a company that stole right out from his pocket. So, not to mention Daniel, Aeronaut Vapes, is a super cool guy. I said it earlier in the video, but I'll say it again, he's a super cool guy, because if you look in my comments on my videos, all the Aeronaut videos I do pretty much, every video where I've had the Aeronaut in there, he's in there in the comments talking to people that have questions about it, that might be having a problem using it. And sometimes he gets to their questions even before I do. He's in there on other people's channels too, talking to them, giving them tips. I mean, he is an awesome dude. An awesome dude that cares about his customers. So, I mean, he just sent me the Lucid version of his RDA. I mean, I have not put a build in this yet. I haven't put a build in this. I'm saving it for an awesome build. I can't wait to put my first build in this thing. And not only that, he sent me these. You see these things? Any guesses what these are? Yeah. I cannot wait to try these things out. These things are peak airflow tubes for the Aeronaut. The authentic Aeronaut. Of course, you cannot use these in the clone. He hasn't decided if he's going to sell these yet, but he's thinking about it. And I'm hoping that he does. I'm testing these out, and I'm going to see what we can do with them, because the idea behind this is just the coolest shit ever. I'm going to be able to drill holes in these and then design my own airflow for my Aeronaut. That's the coolest shit ever, okay? That's the coolest shit ever. I'm not sure what they'll go for. I'm not sure this is the final iteration you'll see of them. I'm not even sure they'll actually come to market. But the fact is, he's thinking about doing this. That's what's so cool about this designer, this RDA, the Aeronaut as a whole. I mean, like I said, I'm a fanboy, a huge Aeronaut fanboy. The fact that something like this exists where I'm going to be able to customize my own airflow using just regular household tools, a drill, maybe a file, that's the coolest shit ever, okay? If for no other reason than making sure that you have compatibility with future iterations and future add-ons for his products, you should get the authentic, hands down. I mean, they're both mighty cloudy, don't get me wrong, but the flavor on the authentic, way better than the clone. Way better than the clone. Way better. So, with that said, again, in no way am I advocating buying this clone. In no way. If anything, I'm telling you to stay away from it and get the authentic. But I understand. I buy clones myself. I bought clones in the past. I probably won't be the last clone I buy. But the only reason I bought this clone was for academic reasons. In no way am I advocating you buying this. I guess we might as well hit them both, right? Why not? That's pretty massive. Anyway, till next time, I'm your homeboy Josh. Vape on, vapors.